because the Federal Reserve is printing money not just for the United States, but it's printing money all over the world. We actually have what's called the reserve currency of the world. So most people who want to purchase different sorts of commodities throughout the world actually have to go through the United States dollar to do that. And that actually increases the demand, falsely, but it increases the demand for our paper currency. But if we were to lose our reserve currency status due to the fact that we're printing the money so fast, that would very, very adversely affect the value of our currency. So aside from the fact that we might lose value there, we're going to lose value based on the fact that the money supply is increasing. And so once the public realizes and the rest of the world realizes that we actually have printed way too much money, the price of goods, the price for gas, the price for buying a home, the price for buying stocks, the price for doing anything is going to go up. And so you're not going to see your typical stock market crash. People are going to say, how can you have a recession if the stock market doesn't drop? Well, if the value of your money is dropping faster than the value of stocks, then you're going to see the value of stocks going up, even though in real terms they're not as valuable. So that's what's called inflation. Inflation is when the value of money goes down. The value of money goes down and the quantity of money available in the system goes up. Really the definition of inflation is just increasing the money supply. But what we realize as consumers is the amount of goods we can actually purchase with our dollars. And that is going to decline very, very rapidly once the public loses its consumer confidence. Now, that's not something that people in Washington want you to hear. They want you to hear that it's all about consumer confidence, that really the root of the problem is the fact that we're just not confident enough to go out and buy stuff from these different businesses around the world. And so that's one of the reasons that the Bush administration created the Bush tax cuts to try to stimulate business growth, and the reason the Obama administration is spending probably tenfold that to stimulate the growth of the financial sector, try to bail out the banks, try to stimulate educational institutions to accept more students, and there's so many different things that they can do. But they're basically trying to stimulate the spending of the consumer because they believe at the government level that it's the spending that's causing this recession and it's not the lack of production. So what's going to happen in summary is you're going to have a very, very sharp, in this coming recession and potentially a depression, you're going to see a very quick run on the dollar. It's going to be like any good that's going to end up being, if bottled water, I'm going to return to the bottled water example, if bottled water became extremely abundant, people might want to trade in their bottled water before it gets too cheap. And so that is what would happen in the case of a hyperinflation situation. If the dollars begin to drop and lose value very, very quickly, people want to get out of them as soon as they possibly can so that they can preserve their wealth. And so that's one of the things that you can see in a hyperinflation situation. I know it doesn't seem like this is something that can happen. You've been around, probably for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you've never seen a problem with the dollar, but it's going to happen. This inflationary monetary policy has been going on since the teens of the 20th century, and it's just this is the first time in our history. Why is it different now? This is the first time in our history where we're running negative budget deficits. This has been going on for probably the past 20 years or so. But we've had negative, the deficits in terms of the U.S. Trade deficit has been negative for the past 20, 25, 30 years. You've had our manufacturing base is gone. These are a lot of things that were not going on in the earlier part of the 20th century. And so these are the reasons why we're not necessarily comparing apples to apples when we say that we've always been doing this before, we're going to survive this, the United States has always pulled through. This is the reason why that's not going to be the case this time around, because the United States is dependent, like a drug addict, on these stimulus these either the international stimulus by China loaning us extra money, or by the domestic stimulus of the government injecting money, which basically comes from inflation, by taking from productive members of society like businesses and giving it to less productive members of society, who don't either businesses that are not functioning properly, and trying to promote their growth, or other places where basically money should not be allocated. So I'm going to say in very plain terms right now, just so that we have it on record, that we're going to see a extreme high inflation, if not hyperinflation, in the future, which basically will manifest as rising prices, and you're basically going to have you may have increasing wages, but the wages are not going to be increasing as fast as the cost of living. Prices of goods abroad are going to increase. Your Walmarts will not be as cheap as they are today. You're going to see a lot of things like that in the future. And so, the cost of heating a home, the cost of electricity is going to be much, much, much more expensive than you were used to. Maybe the cost of buying a home won't be that expensive, but the cost of actually maintaining it will be. Well, anyway, I just wanted to bring these forecasts to your attention so that you would consider them in the future if we ever view this video again. And I hope you have a great day.